Hey guys, welcome back to my rusty Autoholic garage. This is my 2006 Jeep TJ Wrangler that's a factory right-hand drive. And on this quick video, I'm going to go over some common questions I've been getting over this entire project. Okay, so this all kind of really started back in 2014 when I got my current daily driver, which is my 2006 Jeep Liberty CRD, or Common Rail Diesel. And that was the Jeep that showed me the great potential of diesel technology and diesel engines, but it also made me realize you can get good fuel economy out of a Jeep. My Jeep Liberty is about 4,500 pounds. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. However, this Wrangler I do know is about 3,200 pounds. So my Liberty weighs 1,200 pounds more. It's a four-door, all metal, hard top, not much more aerodynamic than this thing. And yet with the Eco Tune I have on it, I can get 30 to 31 miles per gallon highway. Now the realistic mileage on it, from tank to tank to tank, is about 28.5 miles per gallon. That's city driving, highway driving, not really watching my speed. With the diesel, the closer you can keep it to like 55 and 65 miles per hour, it really ups your fuel economy. But a lot of places, especially in North Carolina and around here, you go on the interstate, it's 70 miles per hour. So I set it to 70, hit the cruise control, and that hurts my fuel economy. But again, we're talking a 4,500 pound vehicle that's four-door, AC, has a transfer case, all this, and I'm getting 28.5 miles per gallon. And this is a 2006. My wife's brand new 2017 Renegade gets about 26.5 to 28 miles per gallon highway. I'm sure we could get more, but again, the faster you go, it hurts your mileage. But her car has the advantage of, I think it's like 9 forward gears. My Liberty only has 5. The other question I'm getting asked a lot, and I wanted to explain, is why did I go with a Kubota diesel engine versus the other popular engines? And for those who haven't really looked into doing this swap, there are really 4 other common engines right now to do a diesel swap into these TJ Wranglers. It's the Cummins 4BT, the Mercedes OM617, the new Cummins R2.8, and the Volkswagen TDIs. So I'm going to try to just go down the list and go over all the other 4 engines first, and then I'll come back to this Kubota V2403. The 4BT, it's a legendary motor, very reliable. I think you can get 170 horsepower out of them, ton of torque. I didn't go with that motor for 2 main reasons. One, it's a very expensive motor. The cheapest one I've seen around here on Craigslist was about $3,000. But the second reason I really don't like the 4BT is the size and weight packaging. It's a very tall motor, and it weighs, I think fully dressed, around 785 pounds. So to put that into perspective, our stock 4-liter is about 535 pounds, I believe, fully dressed. It kind of depends on the model year because they changed intakes and whatnot, but it's around 520 pounds. So you're talking about adding well over 250 pounds to the front end of these TJs. And on these short wheelbases, and especially here with the East Coast mud and everything, you're going to have to really change a lot of your suspension to be able to handle the weight, but it's also going to change the characteristics of your Jeep when you go off-roading. So I didn't want to go with the 4BT because of that. Okay, the next popular motor to use in these TJ Wranglers are the Volkswagen TDIs. Now, a lot of guys have done it. BleepinJeep actually has a wonderful video series on it right now. I'll post a link in the description just so y'all can see it, and they can explain it a lot better than I can. But the long story short on why I didn't go that route was I actually have a 2005 Golf TDI, and the engine grenaded itself on me with really no warning. And I can go into the reasons why it happened, but aside from that, I could find another BEW TDI motor, but the other problem I was running into was the cost of the adapters and the front serpentine belt system to hook everything up. And it just the adapter kit with the serpentine belt system, and the company that I was looking at actually has a computer that can talk to the stock Jeep ECU, which is really nice. But the conversion kit for that was going to be, the last time I looked, admittedly, it's been about a year, but it was going to be around $5,500 to $6,000. And that was just way more than I wanted to spend, especially because I didn't even have a running motor anymore. I have a ton of parts. I have, upgraded injectors, an upgraded turbo. I have an eco tune. I have a boost tune. I have all these parts for a BEW TDI. But because my motor grenaded itself in the way that it did, I'm just really hesitant to do it. And again, the bigger issue for me was going to be the cost of the conversion. Okay, the next popular motor that a lot of people like to bring up is the Mercedes OM617. Now that is actually a 5-cylinder turbo diesel, and that thing is a legend. I've heard so many people talk about how they get 200,000, 300, 400, 500,000 miles out of those late 70s, early 1980s Mercedes diesels. They are truly a great engine. However, I did not want late 1970s diesel technology in my 2006 Jeep TJ Wrangler. The other thing I didn't really like about the motor is the amount of maintenance that you have to do around them. You have to manually set all the valves, and there's a lot of just weird maintenance things you have to do to them. It's not necessarily difficult, but you have to buy special tools to do it. And that didn't really put me off of doing it. The major reason I didn't want to do it was the adapters that I found for it were very specific. So if you got an adapter for the OM617, it went to a very specific transmission. So it would bolt to the Jeep T150 out of a CJ5 between these 4 years. Or you could get an adapter that would only bolt to, a 32RH from a full-size Jeep Gladiator, for these years. You couldn't just get an adapter that went, oh hey, now this looks like a 4.2 liter or the 4.0 high output. The other thing that also put me off of that engine was the fact that the way they balanced that engine was with the flywheel. So when you do a swap, you have to also balance the new flywheel you were going to use, but because I'm running an automatic, I couldn't really find a lot of good information on how I was going to do that. Did I have to get, a starter wheel and somehow balance that? Like, there were so many what ifs that I couldn't really figure out. And the other thing that really put me off that motor was the oil pan. So what you have to do is take your oil pan off, clean it up, and the way I'd seen it is you send it off to this one company, and they will send you a modified oil pan to put on it. And it was just a lot of work, a lot of time, but really, it wasn't expensive, and parts are readily available. The biggest concern to me was it was 1970s diesel technology. So that's why I decided to stay away from the OM617. Again, great motor, a lot of guys run them, great support, but I didn't want 1970s diesel technology in my 2006 Jeep Wrangler. And the other thing is that it is another heavy motor. And I say heavy, it's about the same weight as the 4.0, but part of my goal with this project that I hadn't really said anything about is I really want to keep this rig as light as possible. The lighter you can keep your rig, the more fun it is to wheel, in my personal opinion. So now, let's go to the next motor. Okay, so we've talked about the Cummins 4BT, we've talked about the VW TDI, we've talked about the OM617. The last motor that's really new, and you've seen it on dirt every day, you see a lot of articles talking about it, is the brand new Cummins R2.8 with their repower program. Now, when I heard about this motor, I actually saw it going into tube sock on dirt every day. I fell in love with the idea. It was like, yes, new diesel, 4-cylinder, it's 300 pounds lighter than the 4BT. It seemed perfect, and I signed up to be notified on the cost, and Cummins hadn't specifically said what the cost was going to be, but there were industry guesses on how much it was going to cost and this and that, and I had one price point in my head, and I was like, oh, well, it could be this. And I haven't looked recently, but I want to say it's in the ballpark of $8,500 to $9,000. And that's a lot of money. That is a ton of money. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth it. Quite frankly, for a 50-state legal, including California, Cummins has done something amazing. But the other problem I had, aside from not being able to afford that right now, is at the time when I was looking at doing this and trying to plan this project, and let me tell you, the right-hand drive adds a level of complexity that you wouldn't really expect. There was no one that definitely had we can make an adapter kit that'll work for an automatic and it should fit a right-hand drive. Like, I just didn't have that answer. So even if I could have afforded that engine, there were too many other unknowns. I didn't know what the adapter was going to cost. I didn't know how I was going to hook up all the accessories. I didn't know if I was going to clear my steering shaft. I couldn't find the answers I needed. And the couple of places that I called that could make the adapters and whatnot for them, because they were one-off adapters, I think the adapters were going to be like just the one adapter, not even for the crankshaft, just the bell housing adapter was going to be like $1,500. And I didn't have 10, 12 grand to throw into this engine swap. But again, I can't really say anything bad about the Cummins R2.8. It looks like a great engine. I've heard nothing but great things, and I'm excited to see one in person. And maybe in the future, I'll do a swap with that motor in a different vehicle. It's just not going to be in this TJ Wrangler. Okay, onto the Kubota V2403, and I really picked this engine for 4 reasons: packaging, technology, fuel economy, and cost. So let's go over each of those categories. Packaging. The V2403 is a very small package, which I really like. It's about 12 inches shorter than the 4.0 that's in it, and it's also 100 pounds lighter. So like I said earlier, that just really helps with the off-road characteristics of the Wrangler in general. And also, because I'm trying to get better fuel economy out of a Jeep, the lighter I can keep the vehicle, the better the fuel economy I'm going to get. Onto technology. Now, I say technology, and that's a little bit odd because this actually doesn't have an ECU. You do not need a computer to run this engine, which I actually really like. What I actually meant by technology was in terms of the diesel technology that's in this motor. The other motor I really considered was the OM617. That is a great engine. It revs well, it's very reliable, but that is 1970s diesel technology. This motor right here is from 2007. This was built in 2007. Now, the first 03 series Kubota diesel engines came out in the very, very late 1990s, early 2000s. But as they made them, because of new regulations, because of emissions, they kept refining it as they went every few years. So in terms of technology, this is a very new motor, and it might be, and I don't want to say this for sure because I haven't looked, but I know this is one of the last fully mechanical diesel engines out there. Really around 2006, 2007, they went to the common rail diesel that's like in my Liberty CRD. Those are computer controlled. So again, one of the factors for me, this is newer diesel technology than some of the other engines on this list. Okay, on to fuel economy. And whenever you hear about fuel economy and a Jeep on any Jeep forum you go to online, the number one thing they say is, you don't buy a Jeep for fuel economy. If you're worried about fuel economy, get yourself a Prius. And I really don't agree with that statement. Again, why? I have a 2006 Jeep Liberty CRD. I average 28.5 miles per gallon. Is that a Prius? No. But 28.5 miles per gallon, I will take that all day long. This thing, about 14. So the other reason I went with this motor is they are insanely efficient, and you can really nicely tune the fuel delivery pump. Now, we are estimating this because we don't really know of anyone that has really done the specific swap with the running gear that I'm going to be using and the axles. I'm running a Cherokee AW4 automatic, and I have 373 gears in both my axles right now. We are guessing, and I say we being the people at Kubota Swappers, that with proper tuning and getting everything set up right, I could be around 35 miles per gallon. We know we can at least double. Like, we know we can get into the high 20s, possibly 30 miles per gallon highway. But we're actually thinking we can get a little bit higher than that. And really, even if all I do is double my mileage and I go from 14 to 28, that's going to be a massive success. And really, this swap is going to pay for itself with as much driving as I tend to do, because I really enjoy driving. This swap will pay for itself in about 2 years. Okay. Cost. Let's talk about cost. This is actually not the cheapest engine on this list. If I had to give you the cheapest engine on this list, I would say it's the Mercedes OM617, because you can get a running diesel Mercedes from the 70s and 80s for well under $1,000. So while this isn't the cheapest engine on the list, I would say it's the second cheapest. It's pretty close to the TDIs, but the prices lately on the TDIs, from what I've been seeing here on the East Coast, they've actually been going up. You can get a running Kubota diesel engine for under $1,500 if you really look. I have another Kubota engine. I have a V2403, a 1.9 liter. I'm using that in another project. I bought that running for well less than $1,000. So you can find these motors. I actually found this one on Facebook of all places, and I had it shipped from Michigan. So I also had to figure in my shipping costs into what I put into this motor. But overall, these are really inexpensive motors, especially compared to the Cummins 4BT, which around here, the cheapest one I've seen running was about $3 grand. And then the Cummins R2.8, which again, that's a brand new engine with brand new common rail diesel technology. I think it's $8,500 the last time I looked. So the last reason for me was cost. The other part of that was the cost of the adapters and everything else. This was one of the cheapest ones to do. I think it's about the same as the Mercedes, but it was significantly cheaper than the TDIs. The TDI adapters were easily twice the price of what I was paying for the Kubotas. Okay, so another question I get that I probably should have answered before I even started taking this apart was, what is the overall theme of the build? And the overall theme for this build is lightweight and fuel economy. You don't really tend to see that, at least from what I've seen. A lot of people will start building Jeeps, be it a TJ, a JKU, and even the new JLs, They're putting on these huge steel bumpers, all these body armor, you know, new heavy duty, thick gauge skid plans. And that's good, you know, I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but that's not how I want to build this. I want to do something slightly different. And I'm not saying I'm going to be the first one to do this. I'm by far not the first person to do this, but I really want to do a lightweight build that's also very fuel efficient, which is why I went with the diesel. But in terms of lightweight, down the road, and I'm not going to be doing it immediately. Right now, I just want to get this engine in the Wrangler. I want to get the Wrangler back on the road because I already miss driving it. But overall theme is I'm going to try to keep the weight of this vehicle down as much as humanly possible. Now, later on, I do want to add new front and rear bumpers. I would like to replace my fenders. I would like to change out the skid plates that I currently have, but I want to do that with aluminum. I do not want to do that with steel. I want to keep everything as light as possible, just because I like how a lighter vehicle handles off-road compared to a heavier vehicle. Okay, so where am I documenting this? I've actually gotten this question now more than I was expecting, so I wanted to kind of explain why I'm putting this on YouTube and why I am recording this the way I am. So, after my second or third video, I said, you know what, I'm going to change my style. I'm going to start doing time-lapse. Originally, I was going to do something more like what Roadkill or Mighty Car Mods or Dirt Everyday does. I love all those shows. They're great. And they do a lot of, okay, here's a clip real quick, we're taking off the turbo. And then they do this and that and this and that. And I finally kind of realized it'd be really cool to show the entire process from beginning to end of what it takes to do one of these swaps. And initially I was like, oh man, that's going to be a nightmare, because for example on Saturday, this past weekend, I probably put in between Saturday and Sunday about 10 hours total working on this. And that's not 10 hours like with my hands on the vehicle. You know, that's also getting up, having to look up on my phone, you know, oh, how do I take this off, or what order do I take this off in? And then it's, you know, just looking around my shop trying to find the right tool for this. But in still wanting to document how to do this in complete totality, it kind of hit me, do it with time-lapse. And the beauty about time-lapse is not only does it speed up everything I do, it's a lot easier to edit. So I was able to compress that 10 hours of work that I did this past weekend, and it went down to like a 14-minute video. And the other thing I really like about time-lapse is there are a lot of times where, like, I'll get out from underneath my Jeep and walk away, and I'll go get a drink, I'll look for tools or something. But because I'm doing time-lapse and I have the camera mounted stationary like this, I can delete huge sections of video where I walk off camera and come back. And you really can't tell when I do that. So, you know, a lot of the footage you're looking at, it looks like I go off camera and I come right back. And in reality, I've been gone 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, but I'm able to get rid of those gaps and compress everything I'm doing. So time-lapse is a neat way of documenting all this, because again, I really want someone to be able to come to my channel and watch from the very first video to the very end, and to really see the amount of work and time it takes to do one of these swaps. I mean, my very first video, I was just seeing if this Kubota engine would run. That was the first time this engine had run. I hadn't gotten it to run until then. I actually had to replace a couple of parts for it to run. My second video, great example. I had to run to a store, or a store, I say store, I mean a shop. I had to run to a shop in town and get my AC system evacuated. I don't have the equipment to do that, but that's something you have to do, you know, when you're gonna do one of these engine swaps. So my real goal is to document this in a way that hasn't really been done, that I've been able to find. If it has, it wouldn't surprise me, but I really want to document every single time I work on the Jeep. So I don't touch my Wrangler unless time lapse is running. So when you watch my videos and you watch them from the beginning to the end, you're going to see what it takes to do one of these swaps by yourself. Because I'm really just doing this by myself. Yeah, I'll get my wife to come into the shop every now and then, especially like for the exhaust where I had to have one wrench on the top and I had to be getting at it from the bottom. But for the majority of this stuff, you know, I'm hoping to show people, hey, with enough time and research and patience and the right tools and the right parts, this is something you can do yourselves as well. Okay, finally, I really just want to thank everyone that has already subscribed to this channel. I have been blown away by the number of subscribers that I've gotten in the last month. This is a new channel, but I've actually had a YouTube account for longer than I can remember, and I've been blown away by the questions and the support and the number of people that have subscribed. It really means a lot, because I was questioning at one point, is it even worth doing this time lapse? Because it really is time consuming. It really does kind of slow down the whole thing, because you move to go do something else and you have to go, oh, gotta remember to take the camera, gotta position the camera, I need a light what I'm doing. And just having the 75 subscribers that I have at the making of this video has made it completely worth it. And I really cannot thank y'all enough for subscribing. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. This video ended up being a little bit longer than I had expected, but I hope I was able to answer some questions about why I'm doing this project, which admittedly, I probably should have done this video before I posted anything else first. Again, thank you so much for subscribing. Leave a comment down below if you have any more questions, and I'll see you next time.